No DQ Galaxy, we are live with a recap of Friday Night Smackdown for April 12th, 2024. Smackdown was in Detroit, Michigan at Little Caesars Arena. No, I was not there at the show. Had fun, though, watching it at home. This is the 13th straight night of live streaming on the No DQ YouTube channel, the 13th and final straight consecutive night of streaming. I'll actually be taking a break Saturday night. Thank you all for your support and viewership. I very much appreciate it. Make sure you stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Now, with that being said, let's get into this recap of SmackDown. We had our new undisputed world champion, Cody Rhodes, come into the ring for a promo. He talked about The Rock showing up on Raw, and he quoted his wife, Brandi Rhodes, who one time said, "Who invited you to open mic night, bitch?" That was a shot at Jade Cargill back in AEW on an episode of Dynamite. That was a line that Brandi Rhodes used. Cody brought it back for this show. And then Cody turned his attention to Backlash. He did say he would be ready for The Rock, but then he brought up how there are two triple threat matches on SmackDown. The winners of those matches going on to next week, and then the winner of that will challenge Cody for the championship at Backlash in France. Cody finished his promo by saying, "If you come at the king, you best not miss." Solid little promo here to start off the show. And then we had the Bloodline backstage, and they were going to their locker room. However, the private locker room that used to be reserved for Roman Reigns and the Bloodline now belongs to Cody. And Heyman said if they want their locker room back, the title has to come back to the Bloodline. And that is by order of the tribal chief. We had our first contender match in this little tournament. We had LA Knight, versus Santos Escobar versus Bobby Lashley. And earlier in the day, Legado del Fantasma was interviewed, and Santos said that they did not touch Dragon Lee last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, in that angle where somebody was attacked, or Dragon Lee was attacked by a mystery person. We had this triple threat. Santos escaped to the outside very quickly to avoid being double teamed. And it was a three-way match here. No real double teaming. There was a triple spot where Lashley powerbombed LA Knight as LA Knight was superplexing Santos Escobar. Of course, that gets a big pop from the fans, as you might expect. LA Knight took control of the match, but was then jumped by Angel and Humberto. Since this was a triple threat match, it was no DQ. And then Elektra Lopez got in the ring. B-Fab came in, took her down with the pump kick. Street Profits ran down to make the save. Lashley hit the flatliner to Escobar and then went for a spear, but he missed and hit the ring post. LA Knight then finished off Santos, taking him down with the BFT to score the victory, and LA Knight officially advances to next week. And if he wins that match, he'll get Cody Rhodes at Backlash. Solid triple threat match here. Pretty basic, but still good. And then backstage, we had LWO interviewed. Ray said Escobar losing was karma. He said the truth will eventually surface when it comes to who attacked Dragon Lee. Hopefully that doesn't mean our truth was behind it. But seriously, I think we all know that this will likely lead to Carlito being the one behind the attack. And Ray said he believes he has another run as WWE Champion. Stay tuned for that. We then had a big segment here. We had the Bloodline, what's left of them, come into the ring for a promo. Paul Heyman said there were no excuses for what happened at WrestleMania. He said that he doesn't blame John Cena or The Undertaker or even Jey Uso. Heyman said that Cody flipped the script on Roman Reigns and Rollins was in fact Cody's shield because after 10 years of waiting for revenge, Roman Reigns gave in to temptation and Cody was ready. And just like that, it was over. Solo interrupted and said that there are consequences for losing and there needs to be change. Solo then had a tense stare down with his brother Jimmy, and then he hugged Jimmy, said he loves Jimmy, but then a mystery person ran in and attacked Jimmy from behind. This person lifted up his hood to reveal Tama Tonga, who is the son of Haku, former WWE and WCW star. Tama Tonga has been a star in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He recently left, and he's now officially part of WWE. Then Solo started brutally attacking his brother with multiple Samoan spikes. Solo Sikoa then, as Paul Heyman was going to call Roman Reigns, Solo took Heyman's phone and stomped on it. Then, if that wasn't enough, Solo took a steel chair, wrapped it around Jimmy's neck in the corner, and then did the running hip attack to Jimmy, who was in the corner with the chair wrapped around his neck. This was a hell of an angle with these guys. And I mentioned this the other day. I said that it feels like they could do something similar to what we saw in 1998. Shawn Michaels lost at WrestleMania, and then the next night, Triple H created a new DX. Unfortunately, Shawn Michaels had a serious injury, and they could really never have Michaels come back and try to take back DX. But this seems like the beginning of a new chapter in the Bloodline. And I brought this up on Twitter. I think, first of all, this is a Jimmy Uso face turn. That's the first thing. I think we will see Jimmy and Jey reunite together, reuniting the Usos, which I figured was going to be the end game here, like they would get back together. But the big reunion is the original Bloodline. I think we will see Roman Reigns eventually turn babyface and reunite with the Usos to feud with the new Bloodline. And I think we will see a new person added to the new Bloodline, and that person is Jacob Fatu, who is one of the cousins of the Usos. I think we're going to see the new Bloodline dominate, and then the Usos will get back together, and then they're going to need some help. And that's when one day they're going to be beat down, and we'll hear Roman Reigns' music. The crowd will erupt, and Roman will make his return, and we'll get the Bloodline Civil War. Now, there could be even more layers to this. What if it's The Rock pulling the strings here, and The Rock orchestrated this new Bloodline, and now Roman Reigns has to take it all back, but he has to go through, you guessed it, the final boss to take back his Bloodline. I thought this was such a fantastic angle here, and just like that, you know, we were wondering what was going to happen post WrestleMania, like what's next for the Bloodline. Now we have a whole new story with the Bloodline. And we get the seeds planted for the eventual Roman Reigns babyface turn. I thought this was brilliant. And Tama Tonga coming in, and I'm a little surprised. I did not think he would get a reaction. They actually popped pretty big for Tama Tonga when he showed his face. So I guess Detroit has some more hardcore fans than I thought. You know, people that actually watch New Japan and knew who he was. I was surprised that he got as big of a reaction as he did. Great crowd in Detroit, though. I mean, sold out crowd. They were red hot. You know, they were great at SummerSlam too. So Detroit continues to be one of WWE's best cities, as they've been for a long time, going back to Joe Louis Arena days. Awesome show. An awesome segment here with these guys. And I'm very much looking forward to what's next. And there was a comment in the chat, like, what about Jacob Fatu? You don't need to bring in both guys in one night. You know, you can let this brew, and maybe they tease the Usos getting back together first. So then it's an even 2-on-2. But then Jacob Fatu comes in and suddenly it's 3 against 2. And then you set up Roman returning. And you can let this play out over the course of several weeks or even several months heading into SummerSlam. Now we have a couple of super chats here. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Hamp. Says, I personally didn't buy into the new era and figured after Mania we would be back to the same old BS. However, they have me hooked now. Impressive. Well, there you go. Hamp Connell has been a bit harsh on WWE programming over the years, but Hamp is into it. And yeah, they're doing a fantastic job here so far. I'm loving it. And there's definitely a lot of intrigue. They finished up the Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns story at WrestleMania, and now we got something new to look forward to. So big thumbs up for the segment. And then Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says, do you think The Rock orchestrated this? I think it's very possible. I'm just wondering, when are they going to do Roman Reigns versus The Rock? I feel like it has to happen at some point. The Rock being the perpetrator of all this, I think would be perfect. You know, The Rock coming in and taking over the Bloodline, and then Roman Reigns has to go through the new Bloodline guys, including Solo, to get to The Rock. What about The Rock versus Cody Rhodes? So a lot of stuff to look forward to. I don't know if it's going to be Rock versus Cody at SummerSlam or Royal Rumble, if they're going to really go long-term and do WrestleMania and save Roman Reigns versus The Rock for 42. I mean, I don't know how many more years The Rock can do this, but there's certainly a lot to look forward to, and would not shock me at all if The Rock turns out to be the perpetrator of all of this. And, you know, people talk about the star ratings. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, serious candidate for match of the year. Like, I think it's going to win. I'm just making a prediction right now. I don't know what else can be done throughout the year. You could have a technically better match than that. But as far as story goes, I don't think anything tops Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes from WrestleMania. Like, biggest stage with that story, the climax of that. I don't think anything tops it. I think Cody and Roman will almost certainly win match of the year, at least on No DQ's year-end awards. For other websites and other publications, it may or may not, but my gut feeling is that match will win match of the year on No DQ's year-end awards. Shout out to Walter Cruz. Thank you, Walter, who sent in a $5 super chat. Says, won't happen, but imagine the Roman Bloodline versus the Rock's Bloodline War Games match, then eventually Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania. Well, I actually think that's realistically a possibility. Like, they could bring in Umaga's son as another Bloodline person, or maybe they just do 3-on-3 at Survivor Series. Roman's bloodline versus Solo's bloodline, and then The Rock gets involved. There are some ways this can go, and would not shock me if that ends up being a War Games match. You know The Rock is loving this because The Rock gets that freedom. He's on the TKO board of directors. He has control, and he can do what he wants. He can use profanity now. He can push the envelope, which, you know, he was limited in that 2011 to 2013 run because WWE was PG. I think, you know, The Rock is going to do more. He will be back, and we may get 2 big matches, maybe even 3 out of The Rock before he retires for good. I did have a few logic issues with all this, and I'll talk about that in just a moment, so stay tuned. One of my logic issues does involve Naomi, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. We had Cameron Grimes, who's basically enhancement talent at this point. Cameron Grimes versus Braun Breaker. They changed Braun Breaker's music. The music that he has now, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever heard. It was a faster tempo, but I don't know if it vibes with Braun Breaker necessarily. Like sometimes the music vibes with the wrestler, with the pace that they walk out there and their taunts and everything. Like Bianca Belair's music. Like she comes out there, she's dancing to it, like, you know, she vibes with it. I don't know if Braun Breaker vibes with this new music. I thought his old music was perfect as it was. Like it was just, you know, good rock song for him to come out to. You know, it was pretty basic, but I thought it fit for him. The new music, I'm not sure how I feel. Now, here's a question. Braun Breaker's original music, I feel might be Def Rebel. In which case, I'm really perplexed as to why they changed his music. Somebody let me know. If look it up online, Braun Breaker's original theme song. Let me know if it was Def Rebel or not. I think it was. I think CFOs were already gone by the time Braun Breaker came in. I see no good reason to change his music. I think it'll probably catch on over time. Like, again, it wasn't the worst theme song I've ever heard, but I just felt like it was unnecessary to change his music. But anyways, Braun Breaker versus Cameron Grimes, basically a squash match. Matthew says it was Def Rebel. So yeah, I'm really confused. Like it wasn't an issue of like trying to replace the CFO songs. I don't get it. But yeah, Braun Breaker destroys Cameron Grimes, basically a squash match, wiped him out with the Steiner line and then pinned him with the spear. You know, it was fine for what it was. It was a squash match to elevate Braun Breaker. And yeah, he's full blown on the main roster now. Him and Baron Corbin lost the tag team titles on Tuesday. And that was another head scratcher because when I did the NXT predictions, I picked Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin to retain because I felt like them losing to Nathan Fraser and Axiom felt beneath them. Like, why would they lose to a couple of cruiserweights? They win at the pay-per-view and then they lose to that team on NXT. So I was like, what? So you had them win only for them to lose in a rematch. Okay. I don't even get why Axiom and Fraser got a rematch in the first place, but whatever. Regardless, Breaker's on the main roster right now. He had to drop the titles at some point. And there you go. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Hamp. I appreciate it. Says, a good moment will be The Rock's bloodline versus Roman's bloodline for War Games and a fourth partner. And before the match, their partner is revealed to be Sami Zayn. Ooh, I like that. That would work. They all reunited. You know, Sami Zayn is tight with Jey Uso, and Roman forgives Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn forgives Roman. They're on good terms. I like that a lot. Like if The Rock gets involved and Roman's team needs a fourth guy, they bring back the honorary Uso. I think that's a great idea, actually. If The Rock was up for it, you know, that match 4-on-4, that's money right there. You know, you have the original Bloodline against The Rock's Bloodline. Shut up and take my money right there. Hamp should be a writer. I mean, you got that. More and more now, I feel like people are not going to like this because they love Cody, but I think The Rock needs to beat Cody at SummerSlam and win the title. And even if he's a part-timer, you got to, after this angle now, like I'm enthusiastic for the Bloodline. And, you know, I feel like this is going to be a major story now. And for Cody, I don't really know what you got for him long-term other than The Rock. But like the long game, I think, is Roman Reigns versus The Rock. And that's the hot story. So it's funny how it works, because on Raw, I was like, oh man, yeah, we got Cody versus The Rock. But now I'm ready for Roman Reigns versus The Rock. We'll see how they play this all out and how they get to all this. But yeah, a lot to look forward to. We'll probably get Gunther versus Cody for the title at some point. Maybe if Cody holds on, he'll face him at Bash in Berlin. We'll see. We had Bayley come out to celebrate her championship victory. And the crowd chanted, "You deserve it." They do that for every person that wins a title. She said it's not her first championship, but it feels so damn special. She praised the locker room. She thanked the fans. And she said she wants to give an opportunity to someone. And before she could finish, Tiffany Stratton interrupted, started trash talking, saying it should be her. Then Naomi came out there, and Bayley revealed that the opportunity was actually for Naomi. But then Tiffany brought up how she already beat Naomi, and Naomi responded by saying that's true. And because of that, since she has earned everything in her career, she cannot accept Bayley's challenge just yet, and said she has to take care of clueless Tiffany first. And that led to a match between Naomi and Tiffany Stratton. So I think my only logic issues with everything on this show, let me start with this right here. So Naomi is married to Jimmy Uso, and there was no mentioning or indication that Naomi was the least bit concerned about her husband, who just got decimated by Solo Sikoa. Like, he was just completely destroyed. And Naomi's just out there, you know, business as usual. So I kind of had an issue with that from a logic standpoint. And then the other thing is regarding Solo. So in the beginning of the show, when Solo is like telling Jimmy Uso that there are consequences for losing, I'm thinking to myself, dude, you're like 0-32 or 33 since you beat John Cena at Crown Jewel. Solo Sikoa has just been losing left and right. And he says there's consequences for losing to Jimmy Uso because Jimmy lost to Jay at WrestleMania. That was weird to me. So we kind of had to ignore that. And then you got Naomi like not even acting like she's concerned about her husband. And I don't think they mentioned it on commentary or anything. Now, before we had Naomi and Tiffany in their match, Paul Heyman was backstage, and he was asked by Kayla Braxton about what went down. But then Tama Tonga came over, and Paul Heyman was acting very intimidated by Tama. And Tama said that what happened was by orders of the tribal chief. And then Solo Sikoa came over, held up the Samoan spike at Paul Heyman. And the announcers were questioning, was it Roman that gave the order? So again, definitely seems to indicate that maybe Roman was not behind this, and they're actually referring, when they say by orders of the tribal chief, Tama and Solo are referring to who they consider to be the tribal chief, The Rock. Very interesting here, and Paul Heyman just looking absolutely terrified. And this may be a face turn for Paul Heyman too, you know, when he's with Roman Reigns and the Usos, and you know, we get the original Bloodline, but as baby faces. You know, it's going to be great when it finally happens, I think. Anyways, Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton. Pretty solid match here. Naomi had a good start, but then Tiffany took control. She sent Naomi into the ring post. Naomi made a comeback after the break. She came out of the corner with the splits. Tiffany kicked out. Tiffany regained the upper hand, hit a double stomp, and then Naomi kicked out. Tiffany hit an Alabama slam to Naomi. She made a mistake, though, maybe a rookie mistake. She taunted Bayley, and maybe that moment cost her because she went for the prettiest moonsault ever. Naomi avoided it, and then Naomi picked up the win with a jackknife cover. So yeah, Tiffany, her inexperience got the best of her. I liked it because it did feel like the person with less experience made a rookie mistake and it cost her. Got a little too arrogant, you know, just a brief distraction. And this is where it actually makes sense when the heel, you know, makes the mistake and the babyface is able to take advantage and win the match. I like this type of booking. I thought this was well done. Good match here. We had a video package with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller celebrating their SmackDown Tag Team Titles victory. And we also had a shot of the New Catch Republic. I still don't like that name. Butch and Tyler Bate along with the Street Profits. And a four-way tag match was announced for next week, including Butch and Tyler Bate and the Street Profits, and AOP are in there. Winning team will face Theory and Waller for the tag titles. Wouldn't shock me if it's the Street Profits at this point. We had a Logan Paul selfie promo, basically just gloating over his victory. And he referred to himself as the real Legend Killer. No Randy Orton on this show, by the way. So maybe when Logan Paul returns, it'll set up Logan Paul versus Randy Orton in a one-on-one match for the title. We had Chelsea Green and the returning Piper Niven. Piper was out of action for a couple of months. Chelsea and Piper, even though they're on Raw, they're here on SmackDown for whatever reason, going up against Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Jade Cargill was on Raw, even though I think she's on SmackDown. I guess with the draft coming up, we're just like, who cares at this point? Basic tag match here, you know, glorified squash match. Bianca was in there with Piper, and then Chelsea tagged back in. Then Jade got a hot tag and then quickly beat Chelsea just like she did on Raw, pinned her with Jaded. And yeah, they're continuing to have Jade just come in, do a few moves, and win the match. Jade and Bianca celebrate, and all is good with them for the time being. I don't know if we're going to get an eventual split with them. What's going to happen with Jade? Will she start working longer matches? Will they win the tag titles and then split? I guess time will tell. But Jade is over. I mean, the fans love her, and she's got the star presence. So we'll see. We'll see if she can keep the momentum going. And before the main event segment, we had Kevin Owens backstage, and he grabbed a Detroit Tigers championship belt and had it over his shoulder. He cut a promo while he walked to the ring, and we had our second triple threat match for the main event spot. Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, Rey Mysterio. This was actually a hell of a main event. I thought it was a great TV match. These guys worked really well together, very fast-paced. Owens gave Styles a cannonball on the outside, and then Mysterio came off the apron with a sitting senton to Owens. We had a commercial break, and then afterwards, Styles caught the 619 and also avoided the pop-up powerbomb. But then Owens was going for not Owens, Styles was going for a German suplex on Mysterio, and then Owens came behind Styles and gave both of them a German suplex at the same time. And the crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Owens was then sent out of the ring. Rey Mysterio hit the 619 to Styles, and then Owens gave Rey a stunner on the apron, went up top, went for the swanton, but Styles got his knees up, and then Rey went up to the top. Styles caught him, and then Styles gave Rey the Styles Clash onto Owens from the second rope, Avalanche Styles Clash. Then Styles got the win, pinning Rey Mysterio. After the match was over, LA Knight came out there, and we get our WrestleMania rematch next week, AJ Styles versus LA Knight. And considering the heel face logic, I guess AJ Styles wins next week and will face Cody in France for the title, which I think it's a foregone conclusion that Cody will retain his title, and this is just, somebody for Cody to beat in his first big title defense, which I guess is probably good for me since I will be at a wedding on May the 4th. But more on that as we get closer to the event. That's probably going to be the first premium live event that I do not do a live recap of on No DQ. So yeah, thanks a lot, Virtue. But anyways, enough of that. We'll talk more about that later. This was a very good SmackDown post-WrestleMania. Loved the Bloodline angle. Main event was great, and the rest of the show was solid. I give SmackDown a B+. Very good show. Strong crowd in Detroit. And yeah, they're keeping the momentum going. Things are looking up in WWE. Looking forward to what they got next. And I definitely recommend checking out the show. And that one more super chat here from Hamp. Thank you, Hamp. He says, today in 1999, The Godfather wins the Intercontinental title. I don't even remember this one. I mean, the titles changed hands so many times during that period. Like Val Venus had it, X-Pac had it. Billy Gunn, I think, had it. Road Dogg may have had it. Chris Jericho, Chyna, Jeff Jarrett. It was, kind of crazy. Tiger sent in a €3 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, if Naomi would join the OG bloodline, who could join the Rock's bloodline? Maybe Nia Jax. I don't know. I guess Nia Jax would make sense for the heel version. There you go. That's how we get Naomi in. She's a baby face, and she joins up with Roman's side, and then you have Nia Jax on the Rock side, since everybody likes to say Nia only has her spot because of the Rock. So might as well play up on it in real life, right? Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Says, what if Jimmy has to win back Jay's trust? Well, I think he should. It definitely shouldn't be all of a sudden Jey Uso forgives him. They definitely need to let that build and, not make it a one-night reunion. It's got to play out over several weeks where, ultimately Jay will help his brother, but, Jimmy's got to Jimmy's got to earn the trust back for sure, I think. Same thing with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, where they didn't just get back together right when Sami Zayn was attacked by the Bloodline. Zayn had to regain Owens' trust, and I think the same thing would apply here. So thank you guys for tuning in. That wraps up 13 consecutive nights. It's been a busy period here on No DQ. Maybe things will slow down a little bit. I don't know, but we do have a lot coming up. We got Dynasty, and then we got Backlash. We got Saudi Arabia coming up. Double or Nothing. It's gonna be a busy period, even post WrestleMania. So stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. And if you liked the video, best way you can help me out, just give it a thumbs up. And if you want to go beyond that, share this link. Tell a friend about the channel. Any word of mouth goes a very long way. That's how you can support the channel. Say yes to NoDQ.com and buy a shirt if you really want to go out of your way to help out. NoDQ.com/merch. Say yes to NoDQ.com, and I will see you all next time.